Well, hello and welcome to another webinar podcast episode here with Tree Service Digital and the Tree Service Marketing Profits podcast. We've got a very special guest on today, Jason with the Disruptor Group. They're doing tree service business coaching and super excited to have him on. It's new stuff, new things that we're kind of bringing to the tree service audience, tree care niche, just to make sure we're giving you guys the best value for the things that you're looking for out there. And, a lot of times we're doing marketing topics or interviewing experts, which we do have a lot more of those coming up too. So if you're watching this afterwards, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel and subscribe to our podcast as well. And we've got more interviews coming up with experts and things like that too. But today we've got Jason on with the Disruptor Group. Jason, welcome aboard, man.
Hey, Wes, thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, thanks so much. It just kind of goes in line with the types of content that we put out to our tree service audience. And a lot of times it's marketing, how to get the best results online so you can generate a lot of leads for your tree service business in your local market. But there's other things too to help you grow your business. It's not all about marketing and advertising, which a lot of it is, but it's kind of how to connect the dots to build your business. And that's why I'm super excited to have you on today. Like you've got that full knowledge of doing it, over and over again with other tree service companies. So I'm glad to have you here, man. It's great.
Yeah, excellent. I appreciate that. And at heart, I'm an ops guy. Operations has been my thing, but over the years, I've definitely understood that the first place to start is, you have to get people's attention, right? People have to know who you are, why you exist, how you can help them. And then from there, then you got to know how to take that interest and move it along to making customers out of it. So marketing is definitely a huge part. And you have to, that's the first part. Like you have to have that. You don't have a business to run, operate, or fix or optimize until you have that piece first. So pleasure to collaborate with you on this and talk to this audience. So
I think it's just going to be a significant value for people because a lot of people are looking for this. They just don't know exactly what they're looking for, perhaps. And a lot of things people can get in the TCIA. That's a stand-up, awesome organization. They've got a lot of different business building and educational type topics, but just direct hands-on like business coaching for your tree service company, whether you're at like $1 million in revenue or 3 million in revenue, and you're looking to kind of double, triple your annual sales and revenue. Like, how do you connect all those dots, right? And that's why we've got Jason on today, kind of just provide his wisdom and knowledge on how he's done that a couple times over now. And so, Jason, why don't you start with maybe just kind of telling us a little bit about like your background in tree service, like how you got started in it and grew that company, and then now doing kind of what you're doing now, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So really my story, and this kind of leads into why I'm doing this now with the Disruptor Group. But so yeah, I've been in the green industry, service-based industry, particularly tree service, for the last probably 22 years. And we've grown, built and grown the 3 largest tree service companies out here in Arizona, doing multi-million-dollar in business. And we had a level of success. So really about 7 years ago, I was 40 years old. And at that time, I was actually just an employee of a tree service company. Didn't have any ownership in anything. And we had grown that particular business to about $5 million. And it plateaued for about 3 years. And we had hit a ceiling and we couldn't grow it. And in fact, we had a lot of issues that we couldn't solve. And we were basically just putting out fires and putting on Band-Aids, but we could not figure out how to solve problems for the long term. And I got very frustrated. And I felt like I was failing as a leader. Felt like I was failing personally. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to take that business any further. And I felt like I reached my limit. And so I was actually quitting. I had put in my resignation, was going to accept an offer from another tree company that was smaller, but wanted to be what we were. And I knew how to do that, but I didn't know how to take our company any further. And so during that same time, I actually met a mentor. I was looking at some software and met this guy, super inspiring, and told me a lot of his story and the ups and downs that he went through. And I left that, we went to dinner together. We left that dinner super inspired. And I didn't even know, I found out shortly after that he had started a mentorship group. And so it was a collaboration of other people in the service-based industry. that he was training and mentoring, and they were collaborating together. And as soon as I knew that, because I was like, man, how do I get around this guy more? I didn't know that how I could build that relationship with who this guy was. And so as soon as I found out about that, I immediately joined. And as I joined, I realized that, man, there's actually a way to do business, and I've just been reacting to business. And so that's been my journey over the last 7 years. And in that group is where I learned concepts and principles and ideas, got introduced to different books, which led me to other people and other sets of information that's really formed this way that we do business now. And fast forwarding, I ended up staying with the company I was at, rescinded the offer that I was going to take. And we've now built that particular business to about $10 million in revenue, and still growing, and high profitability on that. And so I felt like my passion became, man, there's probably somebody else out there like me, right? That's lost, that's frustrated, that's stuck, that doesn't have the information that they need, that can actually, it's not about their potential, it's not about their ability. It's about having something they can put that ability and that potential inside of, that can make that exponential and actually have the results that they're hoping to have, and bust through those ceilings that they're busting through. And so that's been my passion now, is to create this group to help other companies like we have. And I searched and looked, and there was nobody specifically in the tree industry space that was helping companies like this. You could piece things together all over the place. Like you mentioned, there's different organizations and groups that piece things together or connect you with, this company that does that and this company that specializes in that. And so what we've done is we've just taken all those pieces and put them together. To first it was to help ourselves, but now it's, so we can help somebody else that may be in the same spot, or maybe they just want to fast track that, and basically grow as an individual and grow their business to achieve their dreams. So that's my journey. And now, so I went from 7 years ago, just a employee in a business, to now I'm a serial entrepreneur. I own 5 businesses, and the companies that we own and lead are doing over $22 million in revenue. And I don't say that to brag. I say that to show people what getting in the right group, getting the right information, and having accountability to execute on that information can really take you further than you realize you could go. And that's the boat I'm in. And I know that's true for everybody else.
Absolutely, man. And a couple of powerful things you just shared right there. So what better to have somebody that's in the tree service business, that's already doing it, that has done it, that's been there, done that, gotten the t-shirt probably. And another thing is you never know who you're going to meet or come across in your professional career, in your day-to-day, just running your business, doing things like that. And so Jason met somebody, right, that was a mentor to you to kind of help you grow that business. And I'll share that, like, I have coaching myself in our agency here, because I'm constantly learning new cutting edge tricks on digital marketing and generating lead flow and things like that for tree service companies, or any companies for that matter, but the tree service companies specifically that we work with. And so on top of the masterminding and all of that, I've got coaching to help me kind of connect the dots to continue to grow as an organization and provide top level service, kind of what you're talking about. So when you're in business, you kind of are out on an island by yourself, right? Unless you got some sort of coaching or mentorship. And if it's even more specific to your exact niche, even better, right? It's going to be more specialized, and it's going to be exactly what you need. And you had mentioned, like, some people might be looking for help and guidance on what direction they're going. And that couldn't be more true, right? I mean, most people don't know where they're going. They maybe are doing really good in their business. And this was kind of me when I first started up as well. Like, you don't really have that clear path of where you're headed. And so you don't really know what to do first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth to continue to grow your business. And so, learning how to do that with your mentor helped you put those steps together, kind of helped pull back the curtain, so to speak, right? And kind of know exactly what to do, who to put in place, who to hire first, second, third. And a lot of it's just layered, I think, people in place to help kind of take care of this particular department, that particular department. But, as you're growing it, you're so busy running your business, you don't really understand how to connect those dots, right? You're just overworked, and you have a good business, probably a good brand, but at the same time, it's just, you don't know what you don't know until you get to that point,
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And so And a lot of people get into the business, they were probably in another business that was the same. And a lot of times as you see in the tree service industry, they were a tech most of the time, right? So they understand the trade part of it, right?
Mhm.
But and that part's the easy part, right? And they know how to talk to people, they're likable. But then yeah, all the other stuff that you're like, man, okay, I didn't realize there was all this other stuff to it. And so being able to have one, people or a group that has a framework that you can work and operate out of. And then number two, being able to be part of a community that you can bounce and collaborate ideas. Because to your point, one of the things that we talk about is we understand it's lonely as an entrepreneur, right? Like your family doesn't understand, your spouse doesn't understand, your friends don't know anything about what you're doing. They don't get it. And so there's really nobody to talk about the struggles you're going through and how to face things and how to get past things or get help. And so being able to find that mentorship and that collaboration of other people is super, super important and very, very helpful, so that you can get out of that lonely spot and be able to actually get help that you need. Because think about it, if you go to, like you mentioned, the TCI, right? If you go to a TCI event or an ISA event or whatever those events are, and you start talking with other businesses, what are you talking about? You're talking about all the wins and successes, right? While all the while inside, you're reeling inside, you have all these things that you aren't talking about, that you're not getting help with, but nobody wants to talk about that. We're scared to talk about that, right? And so that's part of why we exist too, is to create an atmosphere where, hey, you understand that you're going to be in a group where that's what we're talking about. Yeah, we're going to share wins and successes, but we're also not afraid to, and we're going to be vulnerable to say, hey, here's what I'm struggling with. Have you ever struggled with this? Here's something that I'm facing, right? Here's something. And we all have wins that we can share of, hey, you know what? I went through that too. Or we can share in that struggle and figure it out together, right? And so super important point that you made of it being a lonely place, and we want to be part of, and everybody should be part of a group and a network that they can get out of that spot where they're just talking about wins and not actually getting the help they need.
Yeah, that's what helps you break through, is just, experiencing it with other people, like-minded folks that are doing what you're doing and have already been where you want to go. Because I know you have that thought in your head, speaking of like tree service business owners, a lot of times, because I had the same thought in my head several years ago. Am I going down the right road here? Do I need to take a fork in the road and go left, or do I need to go right? Who do I talk to about this? How do I know the answer to this question? And so, yeah, you can sometimes find a local mentor that's in the business that might want to help you. It could be a competitive situation where maybe they don't want to help you, right? But if you go and get the coaching specifically for somebody who's already been there and done that, it just helps answer all your questions. It can shorten your learning curve to months rather than, 5 years of trying to knock your head against the wall and figure these things out. Because there's a lot of moving parts to running a business. It's whole separate set of skills than being out in the field. You know what I mean? It's personnel, it's operations and equipment and managing the office and the database and all those different things. So I think we brushed over a lot of really important things, and people have all of those questions in their head. They just kind of don't know where to turn to get those answers. And so that's why coaching is super important. I'm a huge proponent of it because I do it myself, and you don't know what you don't know. Right. So, well, that's awesome. So we kind of got your why, kind of your story. Like you hit that plateau in your tree service business that you were working for. And in only 7 short years, you went from that, being an employee to a company to helping them grow it to a lot larger, and a part of that, and now own 5 businesses. That's powerful. That tells you can do anything you want at any age in life, right? So wherever you are in your tree service business, whether you're 1 year in, 5 years in, 20 years in, you can always make improvements and get better by learning and stuff. So that's really cool. So let's talk about like the Disruptor Group and kind of what it all is about, and maybe how you help these tree service companies maybe kind of get started. There's probably some sort of foundational thing that you got to go through, and then from there, kind of, where they go from there, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I touched on a little bit, but just to be a little more formal. So, with the Disruptor Group, what specifically we help business leaders in the home services trade, particularly tree service, who sense that they have untapped potential and they have a strong desire to achieve more. But like me, they're exhausted, right? They're struggling in silence, and they recognize that how things used to be done just isn't going to cut it anymore. And so they either don't know how to fix it, or they're seeking to expedite that success through expert guidance, collaborative efforts, right? And so that's kind of our mission and what we're here to do. And as far as how we do that with the Disrupt framework. And so Disrupt stands for the D is dreams, which is all about your personal why, your business why, and your employees why, and aligning all those things together that really help you grow and scale your business. A lot of people miss that part, right? They have their why, or maybe they don't have their why. They thought they knew it, but it's not really crystal clear. And that, if you can't pull yourself into the future with your why, you're going to get stuck in the present or the past. And so so we use that to really help people get crystal clear on that for themselves, why they're doing this in the first place, get back to that why they started. They got out of the truck, somebody else's truck, and got in their own truck and did this in the first place. And then what is the business why that's aligned to that? And then if you can get your employees why aligned to your business why, then everybody, it's a win-win situation. And now you can grow and scale your business. So then we move on to the I, which is identity. So identity refers to you getting clear on who you are as an individual. What's your story? That's a powerful thing. Your story is a powerful thing to use. Who you are as a leader. We talk about leadership. We talk about branding, your company's positioning in the marketplace, getting clear on who you serve and what you do for the audience you want to serve. And it's also where you discover and establish yours and your company's core values. Next, we talk about stages. So the S is stages. And this is all about understanding that you're always on a stage in every aspect of your life. And we don't necessarily go into the personal, but that's leadership too, right? You're on stage with your spouse, you're on stage with your children. In the workplace or in business, you're on stage as a boss or a leader, right? As a manager. In the marketplace, you're on a stage. When you're in front of a customer, you're on a stage, right? And so on. And so understanding the first thing is, hey, there is a stage that you're on. And now that you understand that you're always on a stage, how do you show up? And it's about being prepared, knowing how to show up, and being ready for that performance, whichever stage that is. And so if you think about singers and actors and athletes, right, they all have scripts, or they have playbooks, they have training, they have coaching, they have practicing or role playing. And so that when the live performance comes, they're ready to fully execute, right, and get the desired results. And so that's what stage is all about. And then we move on to the R, which is repeatables. And so you want to make sure that you create consistency in your company that's going to allow you to scale. So creating consistency through standardization. It's all about automating things that don't need to be done manually, and having a way that you can bring somebody into the organization and they just sit in that standard operating way of doing something. And so it's so much easier to onboard people and grow and scale your business. Next is the U. It's unknowns, right? And this is a really huge thing that in fact, I don't know, I think it was weaved in a lot of things that I learned, but I don't remember anybody really focusing on this specifically necessarily, but this deals with the art of predicting the future, as well as dealing with fear and uncertainty. These are the things that we help companies with. Is there is a way to kind of predict the future and know how to get where you're going through all the things that seem like they are unknowns, right?
The curveballs that inevitably come at any given stage.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. But there's processes on way to handle those and be able to kind of predict those things that are coming. And then, of course, dealing with fear and uncertainty, which we all deal with, as entrepreneurs and business owners, right? And then P is performance, right? We want to make sure that you achieve your goals and the results that you have, and not just hope and look back to see if you did. So this is about operating around activity-based metrics, right? And so knowing what things should I be paying attention, how often should I be paying attention to them, and how is that going to drive the performance of my business so that we actually see the outcome. We don't look back and like, oh, we missed it. We actually drive the company towards those goals. And then the last one is T, which is just putting it all together with your team. And so having synergy and creating a high level of accountability to successfully execute your business plan. And so with this framework that we use in our own business, and we help other businesses, this is everything that we use to train, coach, and have workshops around this framework to help people optimize their business. Maybe they don't have anything in place, so we help put these things in place, or make some of those things better, strengthen some of those things that are weak. And this really helps people get in a position where they can start growing and scaling their business at a high rapid growth rate.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, man. Were you
Yeah.
finished with that particular part of it for the
Yeah.
explanation of the name?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. No, that's great, man. That's really powerful. That's a whole step-by-step framework of how you kind of implement that and plug it into any tree service business that wants to know how to kind of grow their company, right? Like, what are the best things for us to do? What are the proven things that we can do that other people have already done, and just kind of mirror that and instill it in our business? And that's pretty powerful, right? Like when you have, like, think about McDonald's franchises or any of these other businesses, right? They've got a framework, they've got a playbook on how to run that company. And that's how they massively scale the businesses and franchisees, and everybody kind of does the same thing. And if you can implement that framework and structure, everybody's going to be a little bit different, of course, right? Everybody's got a little bit different types of services they offer and things like that. But for the most part, yeah, I mean, that's kind of your step-by-step framework. So having that in place and it's already a proven process, that's great. You know, you don't know what you don't know until you get in there and start figuring it out, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing, is that, it took us a lot longer and a lot more money than it could have if we would have had these things, right? And so that's kind of, our hope and goal is to help people fast track that, because we've taken all those things and put them in one place, so they don't have to go search this book and read this book and get this nugget out of this book. And you should be reading books, but now you can just go and if there's one thing I learned, one of the biggest thing I learned from the mentor that I had in that group was, man, pay to fast track. Spend money on the solution. Like, don't go the hard way and try to figure it out on your own. If it's already been figured out, man, let somebody just pay for that solution and go fast.
Couldn't agree
And
more. Yeah.
once we adopted that same mindset, that's when we blew up. That's what's been the success story for me. And that's why I can say that with confidence.
Well, and I mean, think about it. 3 to 5 years is pretty relatively short period of time to go from, let's say a company's at 1 million or 2 million, 3 to 5 years, they can get to 6, 8, 10 million. I mean, that's a fast track. And if you think about it this way, guys, you're going to pay for it one way or the other, right? You either get the knowledge quick and implement fast and grow quickly, or you try to figure these things out, trial and error as you go. And you may cost yourself a lot of money or more money because it took you longer to get there, A, and then B, you're going to do things the wrong way because you're just not sure. You don't know what you don't know, And I was in the same boat. And then I finally just decided, hey, I want to get the answers. I just want to fast track to figure out how to plug in my organization and make sure everybody's knows what they're doing. And similar to what you were talking about before, like we've got core values and a mission statement here at Tree Service Digital. So it's a similar thing, like tree service companies most need that too, right? It keeps everybody on the same page and everybody's kind of moving forward to the same destination when they're all on the same page with core values and things like that.
Absolutely.
So that's good. So, okay, so cool. So you guys do like, I think the next part is kind of like the training, the coaching, and then you kind of do some workshops around this framework, right? Like you got regular meetings and things like that.
Yeah, exactly. So we have some different products and services that we offer. We have our number one thing is our mentorship, and basically you just join our mentorship, and we have once a month trainings. We have once a month coaching. We do quarterly workshops, and it's all around this framework. And so not only are we teaching and training, but then we're obviously taking Q&A and we're creating accountability on things that we've identified together that were issues in your company that you want to solve, things that you wanted to get better at, things you wanted to fix, opportunities you want to take advantage of. And we build out what's that look like to actually get that to done as opposed to idea, right? And then we create accountabilities around that to make sure that you're actually doing the steps it's going to take to see that to fruition and actually happen. And so there might be some areas where you need some more additional information. That's where we do some additional trainings outside of the mentorship for you to, maybe you're not savvy with sales. Maybe you're not savvy with how to get your messaging right, and your brand statement right. And maybe you need a workshop to help develop those, the core values like you just talked about, right? And so there's different areas that we work with to help you and really get clear on those things and move yourself quicker.
Awesome. That's good. Yeah. So regular meetings, workshops, and accountability probably, right? Like every
Oh, 100%.
these are what the big things we need to do this quarter. Let's get those implemented so the next quarter we can move on. We got that problem solved. Let's move on to another one and fix it, right? And so I got to believe after the course of a year or two, you've done a lot of projects that will help your business set that foundation to really grow.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah. When you start doing that, you'll look back and see, man, I would have never got this much done had I have just, tried to do this on my own. But when you start putting those ideas onto paper and then reverse engineering how we would actually accomplish that, and then you have that accountability from not only the coaches and the mentors, but the group itself, the other business owners in the group, you're going to look back and see, wow, I can't believe how much I accomplished in the last 90 days or in the last year, that I would never have accomplished. So that's a huge part of that accountability piece.
Good point too. And the other thing too, you mentioned other business owners. So it's cool because you're networking and you're doing these workshops with other tree service business owners across the country. And so you got to remember, if you're not in the same market, which most of the time, coincidentally, you're probably just not all going to be in the same market. You'll be in different markets, different states. The competitive situation won't be there where people may be afraid to share this or afraid to share that. You're going to be talking to people that are in other states, other markets, and they're not going to really care if you understand their trade secrets or their local marketing secrets or local, how to do this and how to do that. Whereas sometimes locally, people might be a little hesitant to share certain things because it's a competitive thing, right? Your tree company's 10 minutes away from theirs or 20 minutes away from theirs or in the same general city. So it seems like this might be even better too, because you can learn from others in other areas of the country, right? And so that's
and to speak to that, like for me, I will tell you a big part of me, something that I changed was I changed from competing to collaborating, even in my own market. Like, and I know it's a little scary, right? And maybe you don't start with that. I didn't start with that, but you're right. Like if I can look at how can I collaborate as opposed to competing, and I'm going to go a lot faster. Like you look at the people, there's a guy, lawn care millionaire, Jonathan Patushnik, right? Used to do that. And he put out information publicly to all his competitors, probably similar to what you do, right?
Mhm.
With your YouTube channel or whatever, right? And so your competition could see everything that you're doing, but the reality is it doesn't slow you down, right? It actually makes you faster. The more you help people, the more help you get, right? And so like I always looked at that, but probably since that time, over the last 7 years, like that's how I've started to look at it. It's like, dude, let me collaborate. I'm not here competing. If we can make each other better, like there's plenty of work for everybody, right? And then there's also some people just aren't going to do the work. Like my competitors just aren't going to do the work.
Right.
And so I'm sharing my secrets and they're sharing their secrets, and I know I'm going to outwork them anyway, right? And so, I'm not doing that to be sly or anything, but it's just the truth. Like I'm actually willing to help. I don't feel like I have any trade secrets that I wouldn't tell somebody. And I think I've proven that here in my local market that people could reach out and say, yeah, he'll tell you anything. And it hasn't slowed me down one bit. It's actually, I think it's been part of the reason why I've grown.
That's awesome. Yeah. The more you give, just naturally, the more you're going to get in return. So that's absolutely correct. And I mean, speaking on the competitive market thing too, I mean, there's plenty of business to go around. Heck, even in my city here, I'm north of Atlanta in Alpharetta, Georgia, but just in the metro Atlanta area, there's 6 million people. I mean, no one tree company is going to be able to take care of all of those customers and commercial customers and HOAs and utilities and everything else. So you're right. I mean, if you're in the same market, you're in the same market. And you just best to collaborate and share the best ideas. And I think everybody will go further faster with that type of approach. The next thing is too, in some of your training, you talk about how to 10X your marketing results. I'm interested in this part too, which is really cool. Can you share some of the nuggets kind of like around what that would entail?
Yeah, absolutely. So, some of the things that we teach in our training and our workshop is, and so this would be good for your audience because I know that they're looking at, doing marketing or already doing marketing with you. And so, one of the things that we teach is that we start with, you need to be thinking about building a business to sell. And so, and the reason I say that, some people are like, well, I don't plan on selling my business. Well, even if you don't plan on selling, if you don't build a business to sell, you're not going to have a business that you want, right? And so you need to be thinking about, I need to optimize my business, and I need to think about, hey, what is the value of my business if I did want to sell it, right? Because that's what's actually going to get me paid either if I keep it and become the buyer myself, or I sell it in the marketplace. And then from there, we talk about understanding the value of a service-based business. So when you have a service-based business, right, that's predictable income, and you're very, very attractive to buyers, especially if you're in an industry with or you have some services that have a monthly recurring revenue, right? That's even a higher value. So when you think of the value of a service-based business, and I'll just give you some information. So there's a company that's been after trying to buy our business. They buy other tree service businesses. Some of you might have had this experience. I heard that they're buying on gross, like they're paying on a multiple of just gross sales, which is crazy, right? But that's how valuable a service-based business is, and a list of clients that they can continue to service and make money on, and maybe add services to, or increase prices, or create efficiencies, whatever that is. So the better you make your business, right, the more valuable it's going to be. And so it's super important to understand that the value of your business on a multiple. There's another guy that told me he has a lawn care business. And he recently had somebody reach out to him, wanted to pay him. It was 10 to 12 times, I don't know if it was EBITDA earnings, after taxes and interest and so forth, or if it was on what it was on. I don't think it was on gross. But when you think of the multiples that people are buying businesses at, service-based businesses like ours, you start to think different about client acquisition spend, right? So for instance, I was talking to a group of businesses, and they had a average client spend of $2,000 a year, right? And so if that client's spending $2,000 a year, and let's say you could get a multiple of maybe on gross, you could get a 3 or a 4, right? So if that's a multiple on 4 on 2,000, $8,000, right? So that one client's worth $8,000 to you if you were to sell your business. And if you look at client lifetime value, meaning how long does that client stay with me and spend money with me? Is it 1 year? Is it 3 years? At 5 years? Right? And this particular group, was on average was 3 years. So, so if their client annual spend was about $2,000 for 3 years, that's $6,000, right? And then if that multiple is a 4, that's 8,000. So what's that? 8,000 plus the 6,000, that's $14,000 that one client was worth to you, because they paid you while they were with you, and then you sold them, right? So when you think of that client, it's not whatever you think it is, right? It's a multiple of that.
It's the lifetime value of that client, as opposed to just what they're going to pay one time in the next several months or whatever.
Yeah. So if you think of real estate, right? If anybody had ever looked in real estate or anything, right? You get the money on somebody renting from you, right? But then you also appreciate that piece of real estate. So when you sell it, now you're getting a multiple on that. So it's two different things that you're making money on. So now I look at that totally different. When I understood that, I looked at acquiring a customer and the spend on that a lot different. Like I'm gonna go spend money on getting people's attention, right? So I'm going to spend more money than I was spending, because I was trying to be cheap on it and wasn't getting the results on it. But when I understand, hey, I'm going to play this long game, and I'm going to spend more to acquire that customer, get the attention that I need in the marketplace, because I'm playing a totally different game now. That customer's worth way more to me than I thought. And so with that, once you understand that, now it's like, this is where we start talking about, okay, get really clear on your brand. So if somebody's going to come in and use your services there at Tree Service Direct, right, they need to be really clear on their brand. When they give you the information that they want you to go put out in the marketplace, right, they need to be clear on, hey, who do I serve? What problem do I solve? How do I attract the right people that I want to do business with? Right? Because if you're trying to attract everybody, you're not going to attract the people you want. And so get really clear on who do you want, who do you not want, right? And what that's going to do for you is that's going to generate more ready to buy leads than just a bunch of people that you need to talk to and sift through. And so we do a workshop where we help you get really clear on that brand, get really clear on your brand message. How do I attract the right people, and how do I repel the people that I don't want? And then how do I put that messaging out that's compelling enough in the marketplace that I'm going to grab that attention? Because again, without attention, you can't get sales. It's a busy, noisy marketplace. And so I got to be able to have messaging that actually converts into attention. And then, so that's kind of like that part we're teaching in the identity part. And then we jump to stages, right? So now understand that you're on a stage, you have that attention, and you're on a stage of how do I convert that attention into dollars? And so it's funny to me, like the engine, everybody talked about the engine of a business. The most important part of the business is sales, right? But it's the thing that nobody trains on. You train every other aspect of your company, right? You train your guys out in the field, right, on safety, on using equipment, on how to climb, on how to trim or remove trees, right? On all these other things. You train your office people on all the processes, right? You have all these trainings, but in sales, you just wing it, right? And
Yeah.
it's the most important part of your business. And you're spending a ton of money to go get attention. And then sometimes we wrongfully blame the attention. We like, oh, that's a bad source. It's a bad lead. It's not a quality lead. When really what we found the problem for us was we didn't know how to have the right conversation to convert that attention into dollars. How do I have a compelling conversation and a process, a proven process that I can take that conversation of interest all the way into closing a sale? And a lot of things that we hear from people is like, well, I'm in a competitive market. We have Chuck in a truck. We have people with no insurance that are undercutting pricing. It's all these things that we hear. We went through the same things. Like there's nothing new for anybody. And so when I hear that, I used to be the guy that said that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But what the real problem is when you take full responsibility for the fact that that's happening, right? And say, hey, there's something I'm doing wrong. There's something I'm missing. There's some reason I'm not in that buyer's mind as the authority and the leader and the person they should do business. When we changed all that and we got into a proven sales process of where we can take that conversation from interest all the way to them doing business with us, even when we're in competitive market, even when we're higher priced, right? Because a lot of people do the sales process the wrong way. A lot of people do what I call we all over themselves, right? They just talk about us and they don't take any interest in the client.
Mm-hmm.
And so understanding how to really go through a process of communication where that customer feels like, hey, they understand me, they know what I want, they know how to deliver it. And yeah, it's a little bit more money, but I trust them because the way they've gone about this conversation, that's who I want to do business with. And so those are the two things for me on, like, first thing I need to know is, hey, how valuable is my business? What is this client really worth to me in the long run?
Mm-hmm.
And then, hey, let me spend the extra money it takes to get that attention. And then once I get that attention, man, I am going to invest in my people on training. I'm going to make sure I invest in time and money and resources that my people are trained. They know how to handle that lead or that prospect that comes in the door that says I'm interested, and not just hope that something happens with that. How do I get them really trained, really ready for that stage, right? And prepared for that stage. And most of the time we're just practicing. We practice with the customer instead of practice with each other. Mm-hmm. So to me, it takes having a sales process. What's the proven sales process? What are the steps? And anymore, like, we live in a busy world. Like, you can't have this long drawn out sales process. It's got to be quick. Mm-hmm. It's got to be quick for the customer first. Like, they don't want to spend hours with you, right? They want to find out, hey, here's the problem I'm trying to solve. Can you solve it? What's the price? How do we do business, right? If I think what you have works for me. So then once you have that proven process, then you want to make sure that you know all the rules, the mistakes, and the secrets in selling and closing that's going to make those things convert. And then after that, you want to make sure you're training every day. It's so easy to get rusty, right? If you don't train every day, one, you're a different person. You might hear the same message again, but you're a different person after you heard it the first time, and you hear it a different way. You heard the thing you needed 3 months ago, but now I heard that same thing, but I need this, and I'm going to hear that out of it. And so when you have that muscle, you build that discipline and that muscle of training every day, you're going to understand how to have that conversation on a way better level. And then role play it, work it out with your teammates. Don't work it out with the customer. Like take that information, take that sales process and role play it with somebody in your organization first, and create scenarios with customers that you can work out. You know, if it's in your presentation, if it's in your getting your needs assessment, right? If it's in closing and handling objections, like role play those things so that when that happens on the live stage, you're prepared and ready for it. And so those are some of the things of how, to me, if I'm going to spend dollars, a lot of money, and I want to spend a lot of money, I want to be, there's a saying, best known beats best, right?
Yeah.
So I don't have to be perfect, but if I'm best known in the marketplace, and so I want to spend that money on that marketing, be best known. I want to be everywhere. And once I'm everywhere, then I want to be able to convert that. Right. And so that's kind of, you know, I just gave a huge lesson that we give in some of our training and workshop, but it's super valuable, and understanding that those things have to be in place. I need to understand how much that client's worth to me, and then I need to make sure that my messaging and my brand is clear, so I have ready to buy leads, and then I need to know how to convert that attention to dollars.
That's awesome, man. Thanks for sharing. I think that's super powerful and important too. And we go over this a lot with our clients, is that branding and marketing they're kind of synonymous, and you need to do both at the same time, because in a shorter period of time, you'll go further with your business if you have a strong brand and a strong message, strong look, strong image. You know, like you said, a compelling story of the business owner or the business in general. Like, we stand for this, you know, we do this and that. Like, people really gravitate to those types of messages on businesses, right? They really do. And it helps them remember your business more. And then you're just going to get more and more repeat and referral business from that branding and marketing. So that was awesome. That's something that we try to talk about all the time. And a lot of times it's just all about the leads right now, leads right now, leads right now. And we get it. Like, people need leads, and people need to have phone calls coming in so they can go have opportunities to go on these appointments and give estimates and things like that, right? You need those opportunities, but it goes so much further, so much faster if you really focus on your branding and marketing in your local marketplace. It's so much more memorable, right, than the Chuck in a truck, or the guy with a chainsaw with just a plain white truck, right? You got to have your branding and messaging literally everywhere, where people just can't forget it. And so that's really, really important there, that Jason just shared. It just helps you go further, faster. And the other thing too, I really liked what you said, was build your business with the end in mind, right? Build it where, if you were going to have to one day, just on a dime, have to get it evaluated and sell, build it that way, right? Where you're constantly building to improve it, you know, the profitability, the net margins of the business, running it the right way, the right personnel, the right layers of management and people to take care of things in the business. And that way you've got options, right? The key word there is options. Once you get to a certain point in your business, you'll have options. Either you can sell it, or you can maybe hire a general manager to run the whole thing with all the stuff you already have in place, where you still are making money off the business, but you're not having to be involved in the day-to-day. So at that point, you've got options. You can either sell it or do that, right? So I really liked what you shared there. Build it with the end in mind from the beginning. Don't wait and then, you know, have this big, you know, pile of spaghetti that you've got to untangle at some point. Have good books, have everything kind of going from the beginning, to where it's not as hard to get to that point, right? At some point down the road, when you do decide to do that, because inevitably at some point your business gets to a point where you're like, well, I think I need to either go this way or that way with it. Either I'm going to hand it down maybe to the next generation, or I'm going to try to sell it. And actually, my most recent podcast episode was a gentleman in the TCIA, and he owned a business up in Massachusetts, and he just sold his business to a private equity. And he went through the entire sales process, kind of all the things you just mentioned, right? Like how they evaluated it, how they came in and, you know, peeked under the covers, looked at everything in the business and all that stuff. And it just goes to show you, if you build it that way, that evaluation process will be faster, smoother, and you probably get a higher evaluation, right?
And you get more people looking at it,
Yeah.
right? So you get a competition going of people that want to buy it.
Right. Yeah. So you're just building your business as a well-oiled machine from day one, right? When you get coaching and you're working with people that have already been there and scaled tree companies to $0 to $10 million, $5 million to $10 million, whatever the case may be, they know more about the inner workings of all of that than perhaps you do. And And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, everybody gets to that certain point in their business where they just need that help. So that's awesome, man. This has been some really, really good information. We've got like over 20 people still on live. So thanks everybody for joining today and being here. Jason, great stuff so far, man. So I think we got into kind of like the, the sales processes and train every day and kind of role play within the organization. Is there anything else that you wanted to kind of share or maybe end with on that particular note or?
No, not necessarily. Just to your point, like, you are going to exit your business at some point, right? You're, it's either just going to fade away. When you fade away, right, you're going to hand it off to generations below you, or you're going to sell it, right? And so, and there might be circumstances coming up where you have to bail. And so the better you are about creating that business that, hey, if you had to, man, you're in a position, you're in a really good position that, and even if you hand it down to your kids, you still want to have a retirement off of it. So if you built a really good business, most of the time it can cash flow paying you while they can still make a living for themselves, right? And so either way, like there's plenty of reasons to give on why to build that business with the right goals in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. And think about this, guys. So it's like, oh, it's the commitment. I've got to go to meetings and do coaching and all that. Well, think about it this way. That's going to help you save overall time every year in your business because you're going to know who to plug in where. And so don't fret over any type of like time you've got to spend with a coaching organization. Like for me, it's meant the world to me and my business and just knowing where to go to get help with this and that, right? Like there's a lot of things you're wondering about as you're growing and you're getting into these growing pains in your business and things like that. So you don't have anybody to turn to. It is an island and you're all out there by yourself. So it's really good to be a part of an organization like this, especially somebody who's proven that's in the tree care niche, tree service industry anyway, and has already done this with several companies. So man, this has been great, Jason. I think a lot of people are going to get a lot of value out of this. And if anybody is like already, and I know a lot of people probably at this point in their business where they're just already pretty much ready and they know they need help with like how to grow it, how to connect the dots to get to, 2 million, 5 million, 8 million, whatever the case may be, whatever your goal is. And that goal may change. It could be a moving target once you get going. You may see how powerful this is of plugging in and getting the coaching that you need, that you might see your business going double or triple as far as you thought before, right? So I guess, how do they get in touch with you? And maybe who is this for? Like, is this people that are just ready to plug in and really get a proven system type thing? Or do they need to be at a certain revenue threshold, Jason, or anything like that?
Yeah. So really, what our niche market is 1 million to 10 million. We do have some companies that are below that $1 million mark, but they have $1 million mindset. And so really who it's for is, people that are either they're stuck, they're tired of being stuck and they want some help getting unstuck and moving their business, or they know they have more to give and offer and do in their potential. They just don't know how to actually realize it. And then it's also for people that maybe like, hey, I could do that, but let me just fast track it. Let me just be part of a group, part of a mentorship that I could just fast track that. Yeah, I could figure it out. I'm a pretty smart guy, but dude, let me just pay for the solution and really just move fast. And so we're for both sides, and we're really for people that want to do the work. Like if you're not going to do the work and you just want to, we're not here to give group therapy, right? If you just want to share your problems all the time, that's who we're not for, right? But if you're someone that's serious about, hey, I want to step up as a leader, I want to grow my business, I want to put in the work and the time and the effort, and I will tell you, you're already putting in the time and the work and the effort. But all you're going to do is you're going to channel that into a framework and into a group that's actually going to help you realize the results a lot quicker and do the right things the first time. And alleviate a lot of trial and error like you talked about before, and spend way less money, way less headache, and actually move your company forward. So that's kind of who we're for, and I guess a little bit of who we're not for.
No, it's good. It's good to lay that out because a lot of people may think that it's the right fit, or maybe they're just not quite to that point yet, right? So you want to make sure it's a good fit for the both of you. And again, yeah, you want to show up, roll your sleeves, and get this thing going. And it in a short year or two, you've probably transformed most of your business into where you're capable of growth. You kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. You can see what steps and what key areas to plug into your company. So, the sooner you get started with something like this, the better. What we'll do, Jason, I know before we started today, you had talked about like a free business assessment and strategy call for anybody that is interested in this. And there's like no strings attached, just, you guys have a conversation about the business, kind of, what they're looking to do and kind of how it all works. So feel free to share your information. here live, and then I'll also keep it in the YouTube channel description and also on the podcast show notes where they can contact you there too.
Yeah. So basically, yeah, the place to start is let's just have a conversation. And for this audience, we're happy to give you guys a free business assessment and strategy call for taking the time to be on here. You know, you're already someone that you know Wes and his group, and we appreciate, you know, him introducing to you so we can provide additional value to the people that are already in his network. And so we'd like to offer you a free business assessment and strategy call. You can take advantage of that at disruptorgroup.com/TSD. So that's disruptor, DISRUPTOR group.com/TSD, like Tree Service Direct.
Perfect. Yeah. And if you want them to give you a call or something too, we'll put your phone number in there. Anything you want us to share, Jason, we'll put it in the show notes. That way people can reference it later.
Yeah.
If that URL or that domain works that you gave them, perfect. Yeah, we'll put that there too.
Yeah, you can also email us at info@disruptorgroup.com, and we can just start with a conversation and see, hey, is this a good fit for me? What do you guys exactly do? Maybe need some more information. Maybe you want to, you know, talk through, hey, this is something I'm struggling. Do you guys help with this? And whatever that is, you know, my biggest thing is help first. That's one of our core values, is help first. So, you know, if we can help first and we can provide value to you, it's going to make sense for you to do something further.
That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. Guys, thanks so much for joining today. We got over 20 that were on live. I think 25 to 30 registered at the end of the day after the final notice there. So thanks everybody for showing up today. This has been great, Jason. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and your knowledge about the industry, how to grow the business and all of that stuff. And I know people are going to reach out. They're going to want to talk about how you can help them and stuff like that too. I'll have this on the YouTube channel, guys, or anybody that wants to watch a replay. Maybe you missed part of the live one. It'll be on the YouTube channel. It'll be on the podcast. It will have Jason's contact information for you there as a resource. And we'll probably put something on our website too at some point to where, you know, you guys can reach out to them anytime, you know, in the future, because some people may be ready. Some people may not be ready yet. And, you know, as soon as they are, you guys are there to help them, you know, every step of the way. So that's really great. So if you guys are watching this as a replay, like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We got plenty of new content coming out about tree service marketing, as well as expert interviews, such as what we had today with Jason with Disruptor Group. So we'll see you guys soon on the next video. And I appreciate you guys joining us today. Everybody have a great Friday and a great rest of the weekend. Thanks so much.
Let's see you.